Mindy Waldmeyer, Recycling Coordinator for the York County Solid Waste Authority. We have some guests today and thank them for being here. We have Carrie Fleming from the DEP. We have Brian Furman from Waste Management. And we have Joel Washak from Penn Waste. So they will all be sharing with us as we go along, and feel free to ask them questions as well. The agenda today, we're going to go over some updates from the DEP with Carrie. We're going to go over the annual municipal recycling report, and then we're going to have a recycling and waste hauler roundtable. We're going to go over some resources from the Solid Waste Authority for all of you, and then some resources from outside the Solid Waste Authority for all of you. Okay, so Carrie, if you're ready, you may sit or stand, whatever you're comfortable with.
Stay right here.
Thank you.
As Mindy just introduced me, I'm Carrie Fleming from Pennsylvania DEP South Central Regional Office Waste Management Program. I am the program manager of the Waste Management Program and also the interim recycling coordinator, as Jess Shillabay has taken a different position within the DEP, which I'll discuss in a little bit. I have been with the DEP since 2005, starting out as an environmental inspector and worked my way up to the position that I'm in presently. I've been the program management and I've been the program manager since May this year. Jenny Rathbon, which I'm sure many of you have worked with, decided to retire in March and is currently spending a lot of his time hiking in and around the Harrisburg area. That's what I usually find when I text him to check in. I know that recycling was one of the things that he really enjoyed working with as part of his position with the DEP for all the time that he was there. So moving into the grant programs that are presently available. So looking at 902s, it seems to be the burning question. When's 902 going to open back up? As it stands right now, we don't have a firm date. The best I can say is keep an eye out for winter of 2024. Yes.
I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
If you want to explain, because some folks are probably new, so if you want to explain, like actually what the 902 is as well, like from the very get-go, just to make sure everybody gets that. And if you could just speak a little bit louder.
I will try. I've been on the phone a lot.
Okay. Gotcha.
I've been working my way through a very emergent situation. So I just want to be clear that if my phone rings or something like that, may have to duck out too. So 902 grants, they are the grants that cover the recycling equipment, the recycling education for municipalities and counties to apply for. DEP covers a large percentage of purchases in those categories. Under this grant program. So if you're looking to buy leaf backs or conveyors or recycling bins, send out information to your residents with regard to your recycling programs. All of those things will be covered under the 902 branch program. So, like I said, let's keep an eye out on our financial assistance page, and then you will have also updates when we have them, when the grants are announced again. This will be round 62. So, and just a little bit about the present 902s that are out there. Round 61 was announced in July of 2023 as far as the recipients go. So in that past round, $16.3 million were awarded to over 80 municipalities throughout the Commonwealth. But I don't think that anybody in York County applied in the last round, so nobody was awarded a grant in the last round. Like I said, round 62 hasn't been announced yet. Please pay attention to our financial assistance page on the recycling part of our website. It's anticipated that this particular round is going to be very So anything you can do to have as complete and detailed application as you can, if you're interested in applying for this particular grant, better off you'll be. And another ask is that you fill out your pre-application documents early and schedule meetings with Cindy and myself early so that these grants can get submitted and not be at the last minute. And the grant process is going to remain electronic. So submitting your applications and any rewards and disbursement requests, payments will all be done electronically. So no paper copies will be accepted anymore. I think it's been that way for several years now with submitting grant documents through the DCE system. And moving into disbursement requests. Okay, so when you go out, you purchase your equipment, your bins, from your education, any of those things. Again, they're going to be electronic. You can get everything scanned into a PDF and attach it in an email on the pertinent disbursement request form. You can email it to me, Sharon Scantling, which some of you may have worked with in the past. She's in our office. She helps me manage all the money throughput out of our office. And Mark Vitero in our central office. Mark is the mover and shaker in the central office that helps to keep the 902 grants moving with his staff. We'll send an email back and start confirming receipt. And then we'll review it, and if there's any questions, one of us will get back in touch with an information request so that we can get everything back in prompt manner and keep that disbursement request going. Yeah, and once you've purchased those items that are approved within the scope of the grant, submit your disbursement requests. Don't sit on them, just send them in when you have all the information, whatever it may be, the description, the invoices, all of those things. And if you have multiple accounts on file with the Commonwealth, somebody from our program will reach out to you to confirm what account that disbursement should go to. So you can say, just a quick photo of an email from one of our management technicians asking, hey, is it 01, 02, somebody can confirm that with them. That's appreciated, and it'll help speed things through the controllers. So, and you can even specify that in your disbursement request email up front. So, big item. If you please make sure that items you are requesting have been purchased and paid for by the termination date of the grant agreement. Proof of remittance can be as simple as a stamp on an invoice indicating the date on which it was paid and by whom, or an account summary indicating that the check was cut, or an item was paid for in X amount on X date. And even though you will get a fiscal summary spreadsheet in your disbursement request packet from us, you don't necessarily need to complete the summary. We will do that in-house as well. But if you want to complete it and send it in, we're not going to turn it away. Okay. If you think that you will, one thing with this grant is that you can have a one-time 3-month extension on the grant term period. So if you think you're going to need it, go ahead and put in the request and we'll issue a letter of agreement. So that if something's taking longer to ship or order or anything like that, go ahead and put in the request. There's no harm or foul in doing that. It's better to have it and not need it, not have it. Okay. Then one thing with the 902 applications as well, for everyone that's applying for 902, you need to have ordinances. So you have to have an ordinance for mandatory trash collection program. You need to, it must be, oh yeah, you have to include a commercial and residential element to the project. You can't allow the burning of any of the materials that are recycling in your ordinance. So that, you know.
And Carrie, just to clarify,
Yes,
that's whether or not you're mandated by Act 101. That's, you know, if you're applying for the 902 grant, regardless of that status, you have to have those pieces.
Yes, I appreciate that. You also need to have an education program that informs municipal residents about recycling program at least 2 times per year. So if you have a newsletter, or some municipalities have a dedicated recycling newsletter, others include it in your regular municipal newsletter out to your residents. I've seen both ways. Let's see. And you have to have submitted an annual recycling report for the previous calendar year. Okay. And so planning that bug, if you're planning to apply for that 902, you need to make sure your ordinances are up to date. Okay. It's recommended to regularly review the ordinances anyway, and make sure that the language is as clear as possible in case any questions would arise from any outside source residents. If you are going out to enforce any of those, being clear is always recommended, in case you have to explain on in front of the judge over recycling. And if you send them in to me to take a look at, I will look at them, but I can only look at it from my standpoint as a regulator. I mean, I'm not in a position to give you any legal guidance on your ordinances, but I'm happy to look them over and make suggestions if there's anything to be made that way. But one thing too is that it does cost you folks money to update your ordinances, so it may be something that you can consider as an expense within your 902 grant to make those updates. Okay. Some quick requirements above and beyond that. Ordinance requirements are for non-mandated municipality, which is more than 10,000 residents under the 2020 census. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mindy. Or let's see, more than 5,000 residents with a population density of 300 people per square mile. Yeah. So if you need anything with that, you're mandated. For less than this, you're not a municipality.
And they only review that at the time of the census.
Yep,
so
exactly.
Anybody who became mandated because of the 2020 census has already been informed.
Yep.
So yeah.
Let's see. So just things to keep in mind then, if you're looking at your ordinances, even as a non-mandated municipality for a 902 grant, if you're requesting funding for a leaf collection program, your ordinances must ensure that leaves are collected and recycled or have provisions for composting, and that they're not disposed as waste or burned. And sometimes that's the thing that we see skipped a lot of times in the ordinance. You're thinking, okay, cans or bimetal cans and plastics, 1 and 2 plastics and cardboard, and then leaves are out here somewhere a lot of times. So when I've seen suggestions on ordinances, leaf and yard waste and things like that are one that we suggest people take a look at and add back in. And the same thing applies to curbside recyclables collection program if that's what you're going to institute. And a lot of times we'll see mandatory trash collection as a requirement in the ordinance as well. And, you know, just speaking from my own experience, the township I live in outside of Harrisburg, we're not mandated, but we have a mandatory trash ordinance. So they're anticipating, I think, moving into that mandated area. Municipalities that are mandated to recycle per Act 101. You know, you will need ordinances requiring that a person separate out at least 3 materials from the waste streams that they create to be recycled. And you can choose from clear glass, colored glass, aluminum, steel or bimetallic cans, high-grade office paper, newsprint, corrugated paper, and plastics. And if you choose to have the separate leaf waste from municipal waste generated at residences, including apartment buildings, unless they compost their leaves, that's part of the deal too, that needs to be worked into the ordinance. If you do high-grade office paper, aluminum corrugated, leaf waste, commercial, municipal, or institutional, so more of your business establishments or community activities that you might run, you have to provide for recycling of materials as well at those types of facilities, and report the tonnages to the municipality, at least annually. Let's see. Yeah, please.
Yeah, that's okay. No, if
No,
you
please feel free to, because like I said, I'm kind of a beginner to all of this, so I appreciate your patience and grace.
No, I really appreciate you being here. I mean, we have
without
a coordinator in our region for a little while, so
Yeah.
you stepping in is such a big help.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
so much. So we'll
Please.
have to move on before too long, but
Yeah.
if you want to say just a few words about the 904, just the fact that we're coming toward the end of that application period.
Absolutely.
And any other questions that you may have about the 902, we'll get them answered for you.
Yeah,
Is that good?
absolutely. I really appreciate that. Yeah, because I appreciate having the time.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
All right, so with the 904 grant, that's a different speed. You know, those are where you're reporting your recyclable tallies to the county.
Mhm.
And this is the grant that helps to reimburse you for the recyclables that are being reported. So right now, all of York County calendar year 2021 904 grants are under review. I think they've started to put out notifications that, you know, the reimbursements are coming.
Did anybody receive their reimbursement yet? Okay.
Yeah.
They're coming.
They're
They're a little behind, but they're coming.
Oh, good. Yeah, I see that they're parking their way through the system. I get the emails. And just as a reminder, the 2022 tallies are gonna be due on December 31st, 2023 by 11:59 p.m. If you wait until January 1st, it's too late. Okay. So please make sure that you get those in by 11:59 on the 31st before it clicks over into 2024. Anything past that, it won't be accepted. And as far as I know, the payout multiplier is still 80%, with a 20% contamination rate. So I'm not aware of any change there. If you directly market it, I believe you can get 100% of that money back.
Yeah, which we don't have much of that happening here, except for if you get the big box store statewide data from me. But you really don't have to, I've been told by Mark, but Tara, at least, you don't have to worry so much about doing the math and separating out your statewide data from the single stream data to apply the recycling residue rate to one or the other. You can just go ahead and apply the recycling residue rate of 20% to everything, and the DEP knows if you put that data in there from, say, a Walmart or a Walgreens or a, you know, whatever, that they're going to adjust it to take away the residue rate on their end. So if you have any other questions about that, of course, let me know and I'd be happy to help you with it. Sorry.
Yeah, and just a couple of quick things. If you deal with anything in environmental justice areas. Our environmental justice viewer has been updated, and it has a lot more information, a lot more layers to look at. So feel free to hop into that through our website to explore it, because it may help you not only with grant applications, but in other ways in working with the folks in the townships. I've found it very helpful here since it's come up and been available. So feel free to look at those aspects of our website as well. We're really trying to put a big focus on environmental justice moving forward. So I just wanted to put that out to you folks too, that information is up and available. And then if you have any questions regarding recycling education, you're welcome to contact me or contact John Nance in our central office. Yeah, John is incredibly knowledgeable and very, very helpful. You contact me, I just want to put it out there. I may not be able to get back to you immediately just because of all of the duties that I have right now, but rest assured, I will get back to you. You know, and if you need something immediately, I have cards with my contact information. You can call me directly, and I will help you as much as I possibly can. And once I am able to hire a new recycling coordinator, we'll get all that information out to you as well.
And just so you know, those of you that worked with Jess Shilladay, who has been here at some of my meetings, she didn't leave the DEP.
No.
She has a new role there as organics. I'm sorry.
She is the new organics coordinator statewide.
Yes.
So if you're looking or somebody contacts you with regard to the FRIG grants that for fresh food recovery within their nonprofit, send them Jessica's way. Her contact information or at least her email is still the same.
Yeah.
So she's heading up the FRIG grants, something she's super excited about, as am I. So please steer people towards Jess if they're coming your way with regards to wanting fridges or trucks or anything needs to collect fresh food from different places to feed the people that need it.
Do we think that a food recovery infrastructure grant will become available again this year?
We're
Is that something
hopeful.
considered?
Yeah, I think it's under consideration, but I haven't heard too much information about it because we just had that grant awarded not too long ago. So, you know, we're still working with getting people up and running with the agreements and whatnot right now. But definitely keep your ear to the ground on that, and just help you. She's heading it up.
And in that grant, what I've seen in York County is it's the nonprofits, of course, working directly with the DEP, but my municipal coordinators have been so helpful in distributing the information. It's hard for us to, you know, find all the folks in your communities that may have food banks or may be in need of, you know, things that they could get from this grant. So when it becomes available and I send it to you, please distribute it far and wide, you know, to any nonprofits you may be aware of.
Right.
If you have a question, Michelle.
I
Go ahead.
do.
Yeah.
And maybe everyone else knows, and I don't. Would that be a program that like a senior center could benefit from?
I think it's open mainly or only to nonprofits.
Okay.
So if they are a nonprofit, there's probably a good chance that they could apply. And again, with FRIG too, that is one that has the required pre-application meeting.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Anything else you wanted to share?
No.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks again, Carrie. But very helpful for you to be here to give more details about grants. I will say that if you contact Carrie with a grant question, you can CC me as well. It might be something that I can answer, not always, but it might be something that I can help her out and answer.
Appreciate it.
Sure. And I do want to at least mention with the 904 grant for calendar year 2022 that we're approaching the date of the, you know, when it closes. I usually take off between Christmas and New Year's. That is my plan. I'd be happy to help you before, say, December 20th. But if you need help beyond that, I may not be able to help you depending on what I'm doing over vacation. So please reach out and I'll help you as best I can before that. Okay, great. All right, thanks again, Carrie. We're going to move on We're gonna try to move on. Okay, that's all right. We're gonna move on to the annual municipal recycling report. Now, oftentimes, people sort of link this with the 904 grant, and they think it's all one thing. So really, in our minds, as county coordinators, it's two different things. They happen at two different times of the year. So the annual municipal recycling report is mandatory through the PADEP. The data comes to me from all of my municipal coordinators, and then I submit the data to the DEP, including other things that are just countywide information that has to be submitted. Okay, this is the mandatory part of it. The grant is just a bonus, really. The grant is not mandatory, but as far as grants go, the 904 grant is really not a big process. I see Lisa nodding her head, and I'll walk you right through it. I'll come hold your hand if you need, it's no big deal. I just want you to get the money for your recycling performance that you deserve. So the grant will not become available usually until May or June of the following year, but right away after the first of the year, you want it, well, the report data starts becoming due. So this is the time of year that you want to get prepped and start sending things out in order to be able to collect that data on time for me. So we're going to walk through the steps of the municipal recycling report. If you have any questions throughout, you can ask in the chat virtually, or you can ask here, just raise your hand. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so why do we do this report? Because Pennsylvania has an Act 101 that makes recycling mandatory, at least in some of our municipalities that have a certain population density. But even if you are not mandated, you are still required to do this particular report, especially if you want to get money for your recycling performance grant, okay? So they set recycling and waste reduction goals for Pennsylvania. And they are required to maintain a database on recycling and waste reduction all throughout the state of Pennsylvania. So we play a part in that. That's where you and I work together. Okay. So where should you gather the data from? So there are certain forms that the DEP gives to me to distribute to you. Actually, we kind of do it through the Professional Recyclers of Pennsylvania as well. They're also kind of a partner with the DEP in helping to facilitate this report. So I sometimes will, make changes to these forms just to make them, I think, a little bit more user friendly. In front of you should be, go ahead to the next slide. The FM12 should be on the top of your pile. So this is the form that you would send out to all of the hauling companies that you are aware of in your municipality. Not just the one that you have a contract with, if you have a contract. You want to send out this form to, you probably have businesses using Penn Waste, Waste Management, Republic Services. You want to make sure that you send out to all of these haulers so that you receive not just your residential data that comes from the contract, but also from all of your businesses within your municipality. Okay, so that's what the form looks like. That's okay, that's what I just said. So the form looks like that. It has a little explanation on the front of it to the haulers as to how, what information they're supposed to include in the report. You are also welcome to change these forms. I'm going to send them to you in Word format. If you find some of the wording to be confusing and you want to change it, that's fine. If you want to use your own form in an Excel format, that's fine as well. Just make sure that you're capturing all of the data that's listed on the forms that I give you, because those are all categories that come back to us to submit to the state. Okay, go ahead. So here are your contacts. And I'm going to send these out to everybody in the room, so you don't have to jot them down now. But here are your contacts for Penn Waste is Megan Long, right? Okay, for Republic Services, it's Kathy Sklar, who's been in that position for quite a while. She's been your contact for quite a while. And also Pamela Smith at Waste Management. She's also been our contact for quite a while. If you would not receive a report, if you would, you think the report is maybe not fully accurate or something, communicate with these folks. And then you can also communicate with me, I can, sort of, contact Kathy or Pam or Megan and say, hey, we're thinking, this, data from this school is not included, or, this business, actually belongs in the municipality besides us, or, whatever it may be, okay? So, I'm sorry. Okay, so now I had a problem with the printer on the FM11. This is a different form. Some of you over here may not have it. I just realized when I was putting packets together this morning. But again, I will be sending you all of these forms, so no worry. This is very similar to the FM12, but this is the form that you want to send to all of your businesses and institutions in your municipality. So, doctor's offices, mom and pop stores, government offices, whoever is in your municipality, and most of you would have a list of those folks, send them this form. It does state on the form, if you're not hauling your own recyclables, if you're using a hauler, just enter the name of the hauler and what they're hauling for you, be it cardboard, single stream, meaning everything together, whatever they're, just give the basic information. We always go back to the haulers, really, for the most accurate data. They have waste slips coming in and out of places that they're going. So you don't have to have, now if they fill in the tonnages, that's fine as well. You still want to get the hauler report, and then you can cross-check and make sure that all the data matches. But a lot of your businesses are probably using the 3 haulers that I had mentioned, and could be using someone else as well. But when you get that data, it's okay if they just fill in, whatever the name of the hauler is. Okay, any questions on that? Some of you have contacted me before and asked about sort of a form letter to send along with it, to sort of explain to your businesses, why this is happening, or, that this is our ordinance and this is what we expect, these are the materials, whatever it may be. If you need a template for a form letter such as that, I have great municipal coordinators that share with me and allow me to share with you. So please just get in touch with me, and we can share those resources as well. Okay. All right. The FM11, you're going to send again to commercial and institutional establishments. Some people don't think of, say, a doctor's office as a business necessarily, or a school as a business, but you still want to send them this information. Any institution that should be recycling in your municipality, you want to send it to. Okay. Oh, and also if you have nonprofits and volunteer groups, I realize that's not as common anymore, but if you have that going on, please send that to, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whoever it may be, to collect their data as well. All right, I just mentioned that if they don't haul their own recyclables, they're gonna just put the name of the hauler and the materials on the form. Okay, go ahead. We want, and this is in the explanation of the form, we want only post-consumer materials reported. So what does that mean? So a post-consumer material means that, say it's a shampoo bottle, okay? So that bottle got filled with shampoo, it got sent to Target, it got purchased by a customer, they used the shampoo and they put the bottle into the recycling bin. That it had a whole full cycle of things that happened to it. As opposed to the company that makes the shampoo bottles, the company changed colors and they had all these shampoo bottles left that they didn't want, didn't have any use for, and they recycled them, which is great, but they never reached the hand of a consumer. So you want to make sure, if you have manufacturers out there, if they have scraps or things that got run and were damaged or something, that they put back into their business, that we're not reporting those. Again, there's an explanation in each of the forms about post-consumer materials. I just want to make sure that you all understand what that means as well. Okay. All right. We know that construction and demolition recycling, most of the construction material recycling is happening out there, especially with like road materials, asphalt, concrete, those sorts of things. But it's not getting reported, it's really underreported. So if you have one of these companies in your municipality, make sure that, especially if they can trace where the material is coming from, that they're reporting to you, okay? And just so you know, donated and recyclable materials are reportable as well. So if you have like a thrift store or that sort of thing, and you can get any information for them on donated furniture and mattresses, textiles, those things, there is a place for that on the form as well, okay? So recycling processors, some of you may have a company within your municipality that's a recycler. Okay, so that gets a little tricky. So what are they supposed to report to you? Well, first of all, they should be reporting to you what they're recycling in their own offices, any paper, cans for the lunchroom, whatever it may be. But we want to, first of all, make sure that if they're reporting recycling that's happening there within, you know, as a recycling business, that it's post-consumer. They also have to be able to tell us the source of that material. As a business, they may be getting material from outside of the county, outside of the state, right? Who knows? So that material may be being reported already by a business who sends the material there to be recycled. We don't want to double count material. It is nice for checks and balances. You know, if you have a York County business that's sending material to a recycler in York County, that's great. You know, we want to be able to check those, you know, and make sure that everything's being reported. But if they're just reporting everything that they're recycling and we don't know the source of it, we really can't count those tons without knowing, you know, like what, like we don't want to double count. They may be being counted elsewhere. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, very good. All right, the last form that you would have there that could potentially be sent out by you is the FM13. But I want to emphasize here that this form is really for businesses that cannot attribute the recycling to a particular municipality. We always want the business to be able to report to, you know, York Township or to Carroll Township, like what they deserve for their 904 grant. But, and I see this most commonly, I think, with shredders, sometimes they don't track it that way. Sometimes they track it by zip code, which is no help to municipalities because our zip codes cross over everywhere. Sometimes they only track it by county. So if you have a business that tracks things only by county or zip code, the county, York County, can still claim that as recycling, and we want to make sure it gets reported to the state. Unfortunately, it won't be usable by you for your 904 grant, but please, if you have an instance like this, let me know, and then you can send them the FM13 form. Okay, have you had issues with shredders? I know I get contacted a lot, like we had, I don't know, something, I don't know. Okay, well, that's fine. If you do, just contact me. All right, next one says contact me. Okay. We have a conversion chart that is in each one of these forms that gets sent out. I use a conversion chart that has a little bit more information than the one that gets sent to me from the DEP. So the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency for the United States, has conversion information as well that I add to this. So I've kind of specialized it. And if you ever have anything else that you need to track that say you get square or you get yards squared or, you know, something volume that you need to have converted and isn't on the conversion chart, please let me know and I can help you to convert that. It can be tricky. Math is not my specialty, so please never be embarrassed about contacting me. I will do my best to help you, and we'll figure it out together. Okay, important dates. So your commercial, municipal, institutional, and hauler transporter forms are due to you by February 1st. That is listed on the forms. So in order to give your haulers and businesses enough time to collect this information, please plan to send out these forms in December. haulers, that's appreciated, right? Like getting it sooner than later, I think, yeah. I would think your businesses would say the same. They can't respond to you right now because it's not the end of the year, but they can at least start to prepare. The sooner that you get them ready to report, the sooner you will get the information back. So, yes, sending it in December. Go ahead with the next slide. Oh, I need to mention statewide recycling data here. So who receives statewide data from me in this room, meaning like from a larger store? Okay, good. Many of you do. Probably Carol does as well. This would be anywhere from AutoZone to Walmart to, there's 40 different businesses now. I think the next slide might be a list of the businesses now. I don't have it in there because it changes every year. So basically, the Professional Recyclers of Pennsylvania have worked with a lot of the larger stores that say have, hundreds of different locations, so that they don't have to submit a separate report to each municipality. They can submit one report to the state and that gets distributed to the counties that shows what data in each municipality in each county they are reporting for their business. A lot of these larger stores will backhaul cardboard or plastic or whatever it may be and market it themselves. They have different, ways of handling it. So their tonnages are not necessarily going to show up on Penn Waste Report or on Republic's or Waste Management's report. So if you are getting statewide data from me, this is very important. I will send you a list to everybody. Just check and look and see if those businesses are in your municipality. Please don't send them the FM 11 forms, okay? Because that gets confusing to them. They think, okay, well, I only have to submit one report. Why am I getting this demand from a municipality for another report? So if you could please just, check out the list. Make sure that if you have one of these stores, you're not sending the FM 11. I will be reaching out to you as we get the report from them. Sometimes it takes a little longer than February 1st, but when we get that report, I will send it to you and you'll be able to add that to your report. Go ahead to the next slide. This is my report form, meaning the one that you would submit to me. So after you gather all of the information from your businesses, from your haulers, you're going to compile it on this form. The form's first page, which I think is at your spot as well, is just questions. It's all kinds of questions, things I need to know about you. About, do you have an ordinance and who hauls your recycling, and do you have a contract? And I know you're like, why all the questions? It really is important when I'm trying to figure out the trends in York County for me to know who's handling things in what way. And if I know that Lisa is handling things a certain way and it's working well for her, and then Michelle needs help with something, I can make a match there, and y'all can share ideas. So please answer the questions as best you can. I will ask about if you have a recycling ordinance. Do you have curbside or drop-off recycling programs? What materials are accepted? And your contract information and extensions. Yard waste, I recently added some questions about yard waste, because that's a little tricky to track where everybody's taking their yard waste. But y'all have been great about reporting where the yard waste is going and how much it is. Thank you so much for doing that. So just a note on your recycling ordinance. Just because you have a recycling ordinance that talks about different aspects of recycling doesn't necessarily mean it's a mandatory recycling ordinance. It has to say in the ordinance that everybody must recycle in order to be considered a mandatory recycling ordinance, not just break down, how it's going to happen. Okay, go ahead. Pay as you throw, that's a little bit kind of a tricky term. Sometimes folks don't know what that means. Basically, it means that you're using prepaid bags or tags that your residents purchase instead of just, having a toter or having a certain number of cans. It does encourage folks to recycle. I think our haulers are going to weigh in on pay as you throw. It's not as common as it used to be. I understand the good aspects of it. I also understand reasons why it's not as popular anymore. So a weekly toter service does not qualify as pay as you throw, okay? You're gonna compile the data from all the sources that you used and add the tonnage totals to the report. Go ahead. So your report is due to me by February 15th, okay? If you are having issues getting reports that you need in order to submit to me, please let me know. I'm not gonna throw you in recycling jail because you didn't submit your report on time. I wanna help you. I wanna make sure that we get the most accurate information. Sometimes that might mean you were giving me a report and then saying, oh, by the way, I heard from so-and-so and we wanna add this later. That is okay. But for the most part, I want you to have all the statewide data before you report to me, because we know the statewide data takes, there are going to be reports that come in after February 15th. It just is what it is. So if you have statewide data that you have not received by, say, February 8th, hold on to your report and don't submit to me until you receive everything you need from me. If there's any question in your mind, whether you missed it and it should have already come in, just send me an email. But for the most part, we know that those reports take a little bit longer. Okay. Sometimes I'm going to ask you for additional documentation. This isn't me like trying to check your work. It's just that sometimes, you know, it's a lot of data to gather. Sometimes hollow reports are a little confusing. Sometimes business reports are a little confusing. Sometimes we're trying to figure out, you know, why there's a disconnect or why the data doesn't exactly match. So I thank you for working with me on this. And if I do request a little bit extra information, just know that I'm just trying to get the best numbers I can. And don't hesitate to ask for help. That's what I'm here for. Pretty much dedicate, a lot of my time to this report in the first quarter of the year. So please reach out anytime. And if you need me to come out to the office, I'm always available to do that as well. Do we have any questions from virtual folks?
No, not yet.
No? Do we have any questions out here? No? Yeah, go ahead.
So I've already started working for compiling these reports. And I was wondering if they've actually changed since last year, because I've already updated last year's with the new year's dates.
I think I tweaked a little bit of, say, like the first page, that like the wording for the FM 11, 12, and 13.
Okay.
I might have put a little bit more explanation in there about post-consumer, like very little. I usually, go through the forms of the fine-tooth comb and try to tweak a few things, but there's nothing major that you've missed. Nothing. Yeah. So if you've already, worked on printing them, sending them out, you're okay. Anybody else? Okay. Very good. All right. What's our next topic? So our next topic, we're going to bring our haulers in on this. There's a guide that we've had for a couple of years now. That talks about our best practices for waste and recycling bid contracts and service options. And so we're kind of going to go through the guide. I do send this out to you as your contracts are expiring or as you're going into an extension, so that you can think about, if you need to restructure anything. So you will get this sent to me, but if you ever need a copy of it, just let me know. I'll send out copies after the meeting as well. Okay. So our first one of the first bullet points is to start your bidding process early. And I'm going to ask Brian and Joel to sort of weigh in as we go through. Some of these things might be very common sense, but sort of a why. Why do we want to start our bidding process early? Yeah. And when?
Depending on the contract, you definitely do want to start the process early. You want to give the haulers enough time to prepare for any changes that might be coming in the new contract. For example, if your residents are interested in mobile carts for the new contract, that takes time for us to get the carts available, get them made, distributed to the residents, all of that stuff. Also, depending on if it's new work for us, we might have to purchase trucks. And trucks take quite a while to come in. We're still waiting on trucks from 2022. So, it's just the way of the world right now. So giving a hauler enough time to prepare for a new contract is very beneficial to all of us.
The only thing I'll add to that is the more time we have, excuse me, you'll probably get more interest in the bid, meaning more haulers bidding on it. Because if we have enough time to, like Joel said, gather the equipment and get processes in place or people in place for the new contract, better off you're gonna be.
So how much time is enough time?
I mean, I would say 6 months.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay, yeah. We had added, I think, to the guide more like a year, but, yeah, I would say it depends, you know, probably
Yeah.
depends on how extreme the changes may be in your, you know, what you're looking for, right?
I do want to say something about going too far in advance.
Okay,
Because, for example, it's kind of. I ran into an interesting situation this year. I bid a contract and then the tip fee changed.
no.
And the municipality is holding me to that contracted rate, which is based off of the tip fee of right now, or well, current tip fee, but it's changing in January. So that's the thing about bidding too far in advance. If you're bidding a year out, we're gonna have no idea what disposal would be in your county at that point, so.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah, so maybe we will adjust our guide a little bit to dial it back. I think the year came out of, you know, us discussing how long things were taking. And I know things are still taking a long time, but during the pandemic, things were just taking an incredibly long time to, you know, even just get bins or containers made. So, okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
For that comment. Appreciate it. All right. So. Making sure your bid packet forms and language are up to date. Now, I have reviewed quite a few bid packets in the past few years. And it's really been helpful to me to see the different approaches that you all have. And I there are some things that I always try to point out because, you know, this may need to be updated. But there's actually, you know, some legal forms, right? Andy usually comments on this, but there's some legal forms that, you know, if you do not have a certain form, it may, you know, really work against you and work against the time that it may take to get your bids. So, do you have any comments on that, guys?
Usually Andy talks about the non-collusion.
Yeah, non-collusion, there it is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, yeah, just make sure those are all
Yeah.
up to date. One thing that I would say is bonding, a lot of, not every contract, but some contractors or some contracts require a performance bond. Well, most do actually, but please allow haulers to use the like our own annually renewable performance bond. A lot of bonding companies, it's pretty standard. I can send you language of what it looks like, so you can review with your legal counsel, but some of the wording in the contract will say either a flat rate or like the same, a bond for 5 years. And that, all that does for a hauler is we have a premium on that bond that we have to pay. That just drives up that cost, and that's just built into your contract, so that'll drive up your rate. So if you allow us to do an annually renewable performance bond, we can cut the cost there, and it will be beneficial to the residents in the long run.
So maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, anything else on bid packet forms? No? Go ahead. All right, I squeezed a couple things onto the slide here. So, requesting a contract term length of at least 3 years. So let's just stop there and just say, I think most people are doing this at this point, Joel and Brian. Are you seeing many requests for just a year or two anymore?
Extreme situations.
Yeah, it's a few like smaller municipalities that would do like they'd be looking for like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5-year contracts. It gets a little. It doesn't really change the pricing that much,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
definitely, a longer term contract is more beneficial to a hauler, because we have guaranteed work over that term of the contract, rather than. We're gonna invest, especially if you're adding carts or anything like that, new trucks, anything. If we're putting all this capital into a 1-year contract, that's gonna drive up the rate, because we need to do something with those trucks.
yeah, I really feel like those little short-term, even the, I'm not seeing those requests really when I'm looking at bid packets anymore, that's hopefully a thing of the past. Yeah, okay, allow your haul, well, now I think there was some debate about this before, allowing haulers to quote annual pricing for each contract year. Maybe that's not what I'm thinking of. Is that still something that you would like to see? The
Yes.
annual pricing, okay, yeah, go ahead.
It allows us to see incremental increases over the term of the contract, rather than because our costs increase each year. Every year our costs are going up, labor's going up, insurance is going up, maintenance on trucks is going up. So if we can forecast those costs over the term of the contract, just annual increments of the over the years, we're able to give you a more competitive rate. Now, if you do a flat rate for 4 years or 5 years or whatever, we have to forecast what those costs are in year 4. So you're gonna see a higher increase right off the bat, because we need to be able to still make money at the end of that contract. So allowing annual increases will get you the best rate. Yes, there will be an increase each year of the contract, and yes, I know the headaches that may cause, but it gets you the best rate for the service that we provide.
And it may be less of a headache than a huge increase at the end of 5 years, right?
Yes.
Cause yeah, your community may be really upset at a huge increase, okay? Permitting, what's that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
In the
go ahead.
last couple of years taught us anything,
Yeah,
it's, I mean, the market doubled
Yeah.
yeah,
pretty much overnight.
Right, following COVID, everything has changed. We've seen bids anywhere from, you've seen some that are low, so some low price increases from the previous contract, but then anywhere from 30 to over 100% price increases.
yeah. So, any predictions on where things are going as we move into the next couple of years?
I wish I knew
You
for
wish,
sure,
yeah.
but,
Be making
yeah.
big,
But
Yeah.
the market seems to be steadying slightly.
Stabilized.
Yeah,
stabilizing. That's good. Okay. I think this is the one I was thinking of, Joel, that we didn't always have policy necessarily wanting to do this, but do we want to, do the haulers want to be able to itemize recycling and waste service costs within the bid?
I don't prefer that.
Okay.
Me personally, it's just easier billing wise, just to
Uh-huh.
have everything in one contract, rather than this is what you pay for recycling services, this is what you pay for trash service. If you have yard waste, that's another thing.
Yeah,
So,
right,
like-
so it's gotta all be broken out,
We and waste prefers one contract of everything.
okay. But at least, you know, if that's an option within the bid packet and say Republic, who's not here, just, which they wanted to be here, sorry, I should say Andy Morris wanted to be here, but he had at some conference or something he had to attend. Giving the option, not making it required, but allowing them to itemize within the bid is okay, right? And
Yeah,
you
I
don't
mean-
have to.
I mean, I would say absolute worst case scenario, if you want itemized costs, you have to stay in that contract that, or I would prefer it say in that contract that it's awarded to one hauler. Rather than having 2 different haulers in the municipality, one doing trash, one doing recycle.
Oh, wow, I don't think I've seen that in York County. Is that common in some areas?
It's Berks, Montgomery,
Okay.
Chester, yeah.
Okay, okay, all right. All right, so allowing the haulers to pass along unexpected costs. So let's talk about that. What kind of unexpected costs might you encounter? Not tipping fees, I'm sure.
Tipping fees going up in the middle of the contract.
I think least all of my contracts are not happy with me right now after the tip fee letter went out this year, but that allows us to provide you the rate for the collection of material rather than guessing on what disposal may be at any time of the contract. So allowing us to pass that along, you get the best rate for the collection of your material, based off of whatever the tip fee is at the start of the contract. And then we would adjust the rate based off of how the tip fee would go up. And it's a direct pass through. It's not like I'm marking that up at all. It's directly based off of your previous year's tonnage. So that's one of the things, I've seen others. I don't particularly recommend this, but fuel escalators, that can get complicated because fuel just goes up and down for the most part. And you could be doing, I mean, you would want to do it once a year if you do anything like that. I know in the past, we've asked for recycling, processing adjustments. That's up to you. I'm not really a fan of that, but I know Republic has asked for that in the past, so something for you to consider as well.
And I must say, that being part of an authority that owns one of the waste facilities, I think it's $3 that are tip fee, $3 per ton, what we're going up in the year. I get that is a big deal in a contract, but I just wanted to put that out there as well for those of you that need to understand, you know, if you have any questions regarding tipping fees, you can direct them to me and I can help answer those as well. Limiting residential service options. This is something that I'm seeing our municipalities pay attention to. And I think it may be related to some of the automated hauling options as well. But we used to have, I mean, 3, 4, 5 different options sometimes for residents. You know, maybe there was a 1-bag option and a 3-bag option and a 5-bag option, but that's not going to necessarily encourage people to bid. Why?
Well, it's a nightmare for us to track. You know, if you're in a municipality and you have 5 different options, you're relying on your drivers to ensure they're taking the limit or up to the limit. But we also need those drivers moving through the routes at a steady pace. So what's gonna happen is the more options available, if you're awarding on multiple options, the drivers aren't gonna be able to manage that process on the street. It's a nightmare for us reporting. Yeah, so if we know we're going through the township and we're picking up, you know, 1 cart for trash, 1 cart for recycling, it's beautiful, for yard waste in there, whatever. It's just a whole lot easier. It's gonna be more cost effective for the municipality.
And I will say, like, there's a lot of question over like a low volume service or like a different size cart for trash versus, or for regular service trash versus low volume service trash. I totally understand the residents' point of view, wanting a smaller cart, blah, blah, like all that stuff. But a lot of the cost that goes behind that is not particularly just the disposal portion, it's the drivers are driving down the same street to collect all that material. So you're not gonna see a major price difference between a regular service customer and a low volume service customer. I just want to prepare people for that, because there is disposal, yes, is a factor, but it's not the only factor that goes into that rate that we are providing.
Makes sense. Yeah, okay. Allowing the hauler to determine servicing routes and schedules. And I think this really comes into play, you know, if say, you know, a hauling company is gonna bid on a municipal contract that they haven't had before. You know, they have to be able to work that into their fleet schedule. You wanna talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, flexibility in general is helpful, even if you are the incumbent hauler too. say your municipality has grown substantially over the past contract term. Servicing a 3,000 home municipality in one day might have worked, or before in the previous contract, when you were like 1,500 homes, that might have worked, but at 3,000, we're sending basically 3 trucks in there for trash only, 3 trash truck or 3 recycle trucks in there. If we're allowed to spread it out over the week, that can be more efficient on our end, helping rates overall for the customers.
You'll get more bidders. I know in the past, companies haven't bid because the bid specs stated trash must be picked up on this day and recycling on this day, whatever the case is. If a hauler can't perform the service, they're not gonna bid it. If they can't work it into their schedule, they're not gonna bid it, because it's a nightmare for us.
Yeah. Which I know, I mean, some of you are thinking, well, it would be a nightmare for me to tell my residents they have to have trash on Wednesday instead of Monday. And I get that too. So please keep in mind, these are just suggestions for, for municipalities that, are looking to get more bids or more competitive bids, but you have to weigh whatever pain you may receive from your residents against, what the suggestion may be. Okay. So requesting 1 recycling and waste collection per week, where does this work? And where are you seeing that a lot of places are going to this, or are you still seeing multiple collections in certain areas?
I think it varies municipality to municipality, really. We have seen some that have shifted to once a week collection. We have seen some that choose to stay with twice a week collection. I think it just depends on the need of the municipality.
Yeah, I don't run into it too much around here.
Okay.
It's more east of here, but
I know I will see in some municipal contracts that say during the summer months, they might want an extra collection here and there. So is that still is at least a little bit common, I think.
Yeah, we have a couple.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay. Utilizing waste cart totes to allow for automated collection options. So are you seeing more of this?
yes.
Okay. And how's that working for you all?
I mean,
It's preferred for the hauler. And it should be preferred for the municipalities too, because you're gonna have your neighborhoods are gonna be clean. If you're using the carts, you're not gonna have cans strewn across, street yards. Allows us to run more efficiently. The more efficiently we can run, the more competitive we're gonna be.
and I will say, like, automated collection per se does not work everywhere. But especially in more suburban or rural areas, it's more efficient on our end. Because you're saving on the labor cost as well. So it's definitely something to consider in your contracts and.
Good. Has anybody switched to carts, in the last couple of years, and how did transition go for you?
It was okay. A lot of the older people didn't like them because they were so big or they're heavy, so then we worked with Penn Waste and they were able to choose a different one,
Like a smaller
a
toter?
smaller toter.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good.
but it's easier for Penn Waste to be able to go out and deliver all the same size.
Sure.
And then if they would like a smaller one, they have to reach out to them and schedule that. And then we found out some people switched to a smaller one and then decided it was too small. They wanted the bigger one back. So then we limited it to, you can only change it one time.
Oh, so they went to flip flop.
Right, because then they have, Penn Waste has to go out, schedule the pickup, switch the cans, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
definitely just, I feel like one size that is more of as. It's less of an administrative nightmare on our end then, to deal with the constant swapping out of containers, because I've even ran into one, not anywhere in York County, but one resident wanted to switch every quarter. Their services, and I was like, no, we can't do that, so it's just, there's a cost that, we do have to factor in some way to our bid.
Sure.
Okay, when you go with toters,
Mhm.
what, do you still have the per bag available, or do you prefer to go with? Now, we have 4 containers
Yeah,
or 4 bags, or you have the low volume available to our residents. So if we would go with toters, what happens to the low volume? Can we still do that, or if you give them a smaller,
Yeah.
low volume, smaller toter?
typically, we do wanna get rid of that, the bag, especially in that type of situation, because. We're probably going to be sending out a one-man automated truck to collect that material. So we prefer to give them a smaller cart if that's what you wanna, if you still wanna have that low volume option. There's a 35-gallon cart that we could give those customers, but. It depends on the trucks that we're using, but there's trucks that have a very high entry where the entry is like 12 feet in the air. And can you imagine somebody trying to toss that bag up into that? It's a mess. So, if you were moving to a cart service, we would prefer, having a low volume cart service as well.
So would that, the low volume be cheaper than the bigger cart, or are they gonna be about the same?
They're gonna be roughly the same. You're gonna have some disposal cost chain savings, but not a whole lot of difference, because you're still, like I said, you're driving. And I've seen with paper bag programs as well, or the low volume service customers. Those rates have been the ones that go up pretty substantially as well, because we're still driving past those houses to collect that material, even if it's not out. Or they have that cost of that bag also includes the cost of recycling. And whatever services are provided as part of that contract, because they're still recycling. So we have to build those costs into something, so we build that into that cost of that bag.
One downfall we had with totes is we're very rural, and people that have extremely long driveways, they leave them sit out by the road all the time.
Were
Which you
they-
can't believe.
Oh, so they were probably just taking a bag without a can before and just sitting the bag out?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but, there's no way to hook that onto a vehicle or throw it up on a pickup truck to drive it out to the end of the driveway.
Funny you mention that, my neighbor, there's a neighbor that's up behind me and he has a really long, it's almost like his whole driveway goes up and behind our house. I don't know how, I'm gonna have to ask him, he has something on the back of his vehicle and he will hook the toter up and drive slowly up the lane up to his house. I'll have to ask him.
They hook it to their tow hitch.
Oh, to tow it, okay,
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yep.
Well,
It
maybe we
works.
can,
I mean.
yeah, I don't know, maybe we can distribute some information about that. I don't know if that's a liability or not. I don't know how their car insurance will feel about it. All right,
I know we have 1 or 2 areas where, for the toters, the issues with the toters. Where we have a community, Joel, I know you are probably very aware of where this area is, but I have the guy's name and number written at my desk because he actually comes in to visit me now. But, they have a little community off and it's on a hill, so it's at a really bad spot. And there are multiple homes back in and, so, you have, I'm finding that it's hard pleasing everyone. So, with the prices going up and the toters for this particular area, they are making the toters be sat in somebody's yard and, the owner of that yard is not complaining. However, they're like, well, they're gonna be complaining, they don't wanna be in our yard. Because the truck with it going to be, you know, with everything going automated.
Yeah.
They, you know, you have to make some decisions and you have to be able to run with it, right? So, one of the things that I know for us in debating for a contract, and I know, probably some of this I may not even be saying, but. You know, with the prices going up as much as they're going up, you know, you almost wonder, like, I understand the administrative fees for like the different toters, but at least it gives them an option to choose from the residents, since they're the ones that are gonna be ultimately paying for this. So, it's just, I think it's a very difficult, I'm really not, my background is not from a municipality. So I try to look at all the different, you know, consequences or avenues, and it's a little difficult, I think, trying to make everybody happy and to come to that agreement. So, and I know Republic is not here, Andy he is out.
Yeah.
But they just had a fatality in Texas that he shared with me, and they are truly pushing for automation. So, you know, these people are riding on the back of the truck, they're getting out of the trucks, they're going over and getting the containers or the bags, and you know, unfortunately, this person was hit by a car, and you know, he lost his life. So you see all the avenues, and it makes sense, but it's just hard when you're trying to please,
Absolutely.
you know, the residents. So it's just a difficult process.
I think if there's one thing that everybody here could agree on, you'll never make everybody happy.
yeah.
It's almost impossible because
I
there's so
get
many.
calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
huge complaint about the toters was, they're ugly, we don't want them sitting out in front of our house. They take up too much room in the garage, you know, it's.
Yeah, I know, that everybody looks at it, I think they're great, you know, regardless of me being in this industry, I'm like, it's got wheels, I love it, you know, but not everybody thinks the same way, so.
I tell them this is progression,
Yeah.
because we're progressing.
That's right.
They don't like it, but I would rather have toters out there with bags in them than garbage scattered all over.
Yes.
You know,
So, I'm sorry, Faye had just asked if they will be totally automated at some point, so just wanted you to know, go ahead.
Like I said before, there are some communities that you can't automate them, just because of either street parking or, there's always something. There's always gonna be something that you can't fully automate everything. But we are moving towards as much automation as possible. And even on the traditional rear load trucks, we do have, so if you have carts in your area, we do still have a cart lift that will lift the cart, dump the cart basically for the loader. So that you're not lifting that 96-gallon cart into the back of the truck, which would lead to an injury. So, I mean, fully automated, we won't always ever be fully automated, but we're shooting for like 95% if possible.
At what point do you think you'd be at maybe 95%? I know how my board was, when we went out with two bids, one per bag and one for carts. And that was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, they gotta make a decision, and
Yeah.
they picked the per bag. The 4 bags or 4 containers and the low volume,
Yeah.
but it's gonna come to a point where they're gonna have to go their way.
I mean, I will tell you, any new trucks that we're buying, they're automated. We obviously still need to have, like, for example, we have a contract with the city of Lancaster. Ever gonna automate that? There's no way. So we do have some rear loads still in place, but most of the new trucks we're buying are automated either automated side load trucks, or there's also automated front load trucks as well. So that's what we're looking at. As soon as possible.
Brian, are you thinking, are you on, I see you nodding your head,
Yeah,
so, yeah,
we're on the same trajectory there.
yeah. Okay. Yes, go ahead, John.
We're gonna be going to the big totes, and one of the things we see in North York is that we have parking is very problematic. I mean, there's no room between the cars, very little. And the big question we're getting is, how are they gonna get these totes when they put them out on the curb?
They'll have to drag them to a point where there is space in between the cars to get them collected, and they will, you know, they will use the tote lift to get the material in the truck. So they're not, at least they're not risking any arm injuries or anything like that, lifting injuries in general. So they will manage to make it work.
It's not gonna be that efficient for you guys.
No, it won't, but
So-
we kept that in mind when we were bidding on the contract.
Would it behoove us to try and educate our people? And some of them may, some of them won't, but to get the people to take them down to the corner, as long as they mark their address.
I mean, it's something we can definitely work through. I don't,
There may be one or two that won't do that,
I'm
but
sure
there are some people I think out of do that.
yeah.
Anybody have that?
My biggest complaint is, there's some elderly that, it's just too difficult to take the toters in and out, or it's the space is the majority. Unfortunately, it's progression. I mean, you have to, some people just don't like change. I mean, and it is a struggle, and unfortunately, some of them are just gonna have to
Get on board.
change and move forward. You know, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, because I'm sure there's areas everywhere that are.
And we have a lot of cul-de-sacs in Home Township. That'd be a nightmare for those guys too, unless they roll down to the end of the road, or because there's barely enough room for a garbage truck to turn around on a regular basis.
We have an issue also, which I'm sure a lot of you have, we have these stupid townhouses where
A lot of them.
townhouse city in Penn Township, and the park, it's like okay, so it's, I'm the townhouse, then it's the sidewalk, then it's their parking. And I was talking to Warren, and I didn't even realize this, because I don't even live in Penn Township, I live in the borough. But I said, you're telling me, and like our metals guy, I said, you're telling me that there's no curb, there's no sidewalk beyond their parking that doesn't interfere like with their car. He says, no, he says, when we get something, we have to walk between the cars and carefully bring it through the cars, refrigerators, you know, insane. So, yeah, I really, you guys do a great job, by the way.
Another issue we see, and Joel and I discussed this, we have people who presently bring bags out front. And now they're gonna have a toter, there's nowhere to put it out front. So we're gonna have to rearrange routing in some cases, where they're gonna be picked up in the rear, because they have to come down steps, 4 or 5 steps to the front, and it's just not gonna work. So again, progression, change, who moved the cheese? And so a lot of these people don't. It's gonna be a nightmare for about a year, I think.
But bottom line is, if they want their trash picked up, they'll do it. You know, what are you gonna do? Yeah.
But in the process between the municipality and the hauler, it's gonna be a nightmare. I mean, our phone will be ringing off the hook. You know, what am I gonna do? I can't do this. It used to be good this way. And so you're gonna have that split now. Oh, I love how it is. And I hate how it is. And why did you have to change? Or thank God you changed.
And it's your fault.
That's all.
You probably don't get as much credit as fault.
We are getting right now that it's not fair. That some houses don't generate as much trash and recycles as other families.
Yeah.
So, you know, they have an opportunity to email into our, website, and then it gets driven to wherever. So, yes, it's just not fair. We don't generate what a family of 6 does when we're a family of 1 or 2. So again, we're just never gonna be able to get to every person.
We had a community and they ended up doing like a corral area, you know, we worked with Joel, kind of worked that out, but our new contract went into effect January 1st, so I will tell everybody it does get a little better.
Oh,
January, February, March are not fun.
Here.
This year.
Okay.
We start January 1st.
Yeah.
Well, that everyone had to have cards, yes.
I've been through a few of these. I know how they go.
Thank you so much for the conversation. This is very helpful for you all to share with each other. So kind of going along, limiting the amount of waste your residents may dispose of per week, because if you have unlimited trash collection, then that makes a hard plan, doesn't it? Yeah, and you have to bid for worst case scenario probably, right? They're not even heads. I'm seeing less and less of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially in York County, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 that still have
unlimited.
unlimited service. But that doesn't mean everybody has unlimited service, so.
Yeah, okay. Limiting large item pickup. I've definitely heard a lot from haulers on this, you know, and shifting to scheduling as opposed to, and why does that?
So especially as you're moving towards automation, those trucks do not have well, it's 1 person on the truck, so you might not be able to get back into the truck. And the hopper is different on those trucks in general, so those items probably shouldn't. I've seen drivers try to do it and do it, but probably should not go in there. So just giving us a call and saying, hey, I'm gonna have a large item curbside on my service day, we can send a separate truck out there to get it collected.
So when we would bid, we wouldn't bid 1 large item per week.
You could still do 1 large item per week, it just needs to be pre-scheduled.
Okay.
Yeah.
and isn't that on a weight basis though? Like, so for me, generally, I do 50 pounds. If it's over 50 pounds, you need to call and schedule that.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so this is referring to extra bag and low volume, just pay as you throw bag services, and I know that's still out there in the county. But with automation, you're probably not seeing as much of that anymore.
Yeah, there's still some contracts that have it.
Yeah.
It's just to that point, just using a specific bag or a specific gallon size bag, because typically, I mean, like I know in my house, I have kitchen bags, they're 13 gallons, so that's not a 32 gallon bag. So yeah, I mean, I know in Penn Township that they will stuff them all on the 32 gallon.
What they've been doing lately is, I had one yesterday, she called, they took all my bags but 1. Got her phone number, Warren came in, I said, cause I've made up a list for him for problems so that we can communicate, I'm the liaison between them. So he comes in, I said, do you have this address on your list? Sure enough, there it was, and I said, what, store bag? Called her back and I said, the 1 bag they didn't pick up, I asked you if it was a Penn Township bag. It's not, it's a store bag. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nothing like getting lied to 24/7. So, yeah, so that's what we're running into now, because we upped the price so significant with the last contract. And they're putting like 6 bags out, hitting that little black bag kind of, just thinking, you know, he'll just grab them all, he sees our Penn Township. Oh no, let me tell you, your guys are good. Your guys are good.
Yeah,
You need to
but-
sit.
Good, but like just a standard bag, like a standard 32-gallon size bag, that's what I think we're talking about there.
Okay. Anything else there? Go ahead. Oh, no, they went to sleep. Did it? Maybe just, yeah, hit the cursor or something. You can see if it will be. Yeah, well, we had so much conversation, the computer fell asleep. I love it. All right, so requiring waste and recycling collections by ordinance. This is a tough one, you know, especially for rural communities, but if you're allowing your residents to burn their trash or, you know, whatever, again, it's hard for your hauler to be able to plan for how much trash they're going to have to haul. So it does definitely make it, I would say, more appealing for them to bid in municipalities that have a recycling ordinance. Anything else to say? No, no.
That's fair.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah. Oh, and conducting the billing and collection through the municipality, if you're able to do that, and maybe something you want to consider. Michelle's like, no way. But what does that save you? So, you know, if you want to comment on that at all, I don't know.
I mean, I know that municipalities have a little bit more of a leg to stand on for collecting funds from residents, a little bit more than at least a hauler does. So that's the main. We have some municipalities that have delinquency rates 7%, 8%, 9%. And ultimately what we end up doing when we're bidding a contract is we spread those costs out to the residents, to the other residents. So that's the benefit to the municipality handling the billing. I know it's not everybody can do that though. So I just wanted to share that part with you though.
Yeah, something to consider. Again, the pain of doing it yourself as opposed to paying, you know, on the other end, if you want to put it, you know, have your hauler do
One
it.
thing
Yes.
that we do, and we just started to do with Penn Waste, they send us the delinquent people and we prosecute them because we have an enrollment.
There you go.
So that's very helpful.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, go ahead. All right. Well, any other questions? Anything virtually? Hopefully you're hearing us there. Anything else? Anything that we didn't cover with our haulers? Thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it. That's very helpful. Moving on, let's talk about some resources from the solid waste, from the York County Solid Waste Authority. We have a brand new resource. Go ahead, Pete. We now offer event recycling and waste bin loan for community and or other, you know, even if it's sort of a private event. This is what they look like. They're called clear stream. Okay, so they're frames that collapse for easy storage for me. Yay. And then bags that are labeled trash or recycling. We also have signage that goes up on top of them. We very clearly put on there what is recyclable in York County, and then we have a little message from the authority about what happens with your trash. We've loaned them out since we got them in May, I think 6 times, and I've gotten rave reviews. So we have 25, if you want to move on to the next slide. We have 25 sets available. So that includes the bin, the wire bins, the bags, and the signs, all available on a first come, first served basis. We want to emphasize that you have to arrange for your own waste and recycling hauling services. This is not a service of, then you can bring the trash to us. It's not, I mean, you can, but you'll have to pay for it. So this is strictly, so you don't have to store yucky containers for the 4th of July carnival that you have every year. You know, if you want to come to us to use these nice containers, you can do that. But you do have to reserve them ahead of time. You can do that through me. You do also have to come and pick them up because I do not have a vehicle to deliver them. And that has to be pre-scheduled with me because we store them not here at the management center where my office is. There's no fee for using these Clearstream containers, unless you don't bring them. Yeah. And we also send our community event recycling guide with anybody who uses the containers, and you are welcome to distribute this to anybody as well. It just gives pointers on how to, you know, sort of cut down on contamination, where to sit the containers. That's most, you know, usually the most common sense places where people are going to want to get rid of their trash recycling, and you know, just some other helpful pointers. We can make this available to you as well for you know, sharing virtually, or sorry, on your website after the meeting.
Can you,
Yes.
you make that in Spanish?
Oh, that's a great question. Denise, can you write that down? Sorry. Yeah. I will look into that. Yes, I will look into that. Thank you for saying that.
We have a high Spanish population.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Very good. Oh, so I am available to meet with you in person or virtually, and sometimes my manager Greg comes along too, for waste and recycling contract bid packages, questions, developing your recycling and waste ordinances, your annual municipal recycling report that we just went over, recycling grant applications for your websites, and disaster debris planning. I was part of through the authority, a disaster debris planning group. I'm not really part of that anymore, but it is something that we want to look to our municipalities to plan for more in advance. Unfortunately, with climate change, storms are becoming more destructive and more severe. And, you know, something that's important to discuss ahead of time, how that's going to work with waste cleanup. Next slide. Oh, we have lots of resources on our website. You now have your own place on our website for municipalities. Denise, where do they go from the homepage?
I think there is a tab for resources, and then you just have to choose municipalities.
Yeah. So we make everything available there in just a click. Some of these guides that I distributed to you. I think we'll put the recording from today here, my newsletter from the spring. So there's all sorts of things there. If you can't find it there, just contact me. I'll make sure you get it. We also have a commercial and institutional recycling program guide and assistance program. I offer my services to your businesses and institutions if they would like to improve their recycling programs, or perhaps they're just starting. Maybe it's in a newly mandated municipality. So there's pointers that are on the guide, but oftentimes, you know, it's more helpful for me to sit down with folks in schools or businesses to talk about how they can improve their program and some of the steps to do that. Okay, so you can link to that. I'll provide a link for your website if you want to link to that as well. And you can also request that assistance for your own municipal office if you're in need of improving your recycling within your office. I'd be happy to show you how that works. The residential disposal search tool, we have a new website now. From when did we go live with our new website?
Probably April.
Okay, so this past year, we have a whole new look to our website. We don't have this picture anymore. We used to have that picture, but you can still find it right in the center of the page. Go ahead to the next slide. Oh, it's okay. Oh, it's going backwards.
Okay, let me start back up.
Yeah. There it is. Okay, so from the homepage of our website, it's located right in the center. It says, how do I dispose of? How to dispose of? Click on that. You can put any word in there. And I challenge you to put any word in there of a thing that you want to dispose of. And I will give you donation, recycling, and disposal options depending on the item. If you find something there that is not, you can't get a hit on doors or whatever it is, let me know and I will add it to the search tool. Okay. And you can link to that on your websites as well. That might be helpful for your residents. We also have the curbside and drop-off recycling information for your county. We have electronics recycling information there. We also have, household hazardous waste information. So our website really is a great resource, and there's lots of things that you can link to on your own website, from our website. We are also on all these different social medias, right? Denise? Yes, Denise is great with this stuff, yeah. Okay, and you can sign up for email updates from us as well, and you can do that on the website. Yeah, okay. We also have the York County, amongst our municipal coordinators, I was able to link up some folks who are a little bit more experienced with some new folks. And Lisa and Michelle just offered to say just a word or two about, how that worked for them. So if you don't mind, ladies, Lisa, do you want to start? Yeah.
Sure. I just want to say, not having a municipality background, some of this information was very overwhelming, especially not knowing about the grant. And the first time I had to go in there, I had lots and lots of calls to Mindy.
That is okay.
So having a mentor, just having them be able to give me maybe some more explanation, or have them there to just answer some of the questions that you're looking for a quick response. I found it a tremendous help for me. So I'd like to do it another year on my own, and then hopefully I'll be able to mentor as well. So
You're gonna move from mentee to mentor. I love
Yes.
it. Thank you, Michelle.
So just to piggyback on what Lisa said, our township has a whole different, it's just completely different from a lot of the other townships around here. Our people have their choice of trash haulers, they have their choice of recycling. It's really kind of a nightmare, to tell you the truth, but, when I came into this, I've had backgrounds in multiple different things, engineering and, all, just everything except township and recycling. So they were two big things for me. I had no notes as to, oh, well, this is single stream, this is it. So everything that is common sense to most people in here, because you've dealt with it for how many years, I'm looking at the paperwork saying, dear God, where do I start? So again, like Lisa, I probably bugged, Mindy, poor Mindy, I'm so sorry. I probably bugged her more than she really wanted to respond to me. And then I did have a mentor who was able to send me information. We had a little bit of conflict getting back and forth with each other because she was out of times, I was out of times. But she was helpful in the sense that she sent me what her information looked like. The only drawback to that was it wasn't specific enough to say, here's where you go to get that information. So that was the only thing that lacked there, but she was wonderful with at least providing me hands-on documentation, because I learn a lot better when it's hands-on. And, after I sat down then with Mindy and I went, dear God, I made this way more complicated than it needed to be. I was on the right track. I already had part of the information saved in the electronic file for the 904 grant. I just didn't have the confidence to say, you're doing all right, just keep moving. So I think in that sense, the mentor program is wonderful, because if you can get people hooked up with other people, it's much, much easier to understand when you know where it's coming from. So that's the biggest thing, is with all of us new people that are coming in and out of townships, we need that training. And for me, my person was there a week before she retired, and I have 3 notebooks that are about 3 inches thick. So she was good with that, but the explanation wasn't there.
Right, you can't ask questions about it.
Right, I had, oh, this is what the old completed application looked like, and I'm like, that's fantastic. Now I know what goes where, but where did those numbers come from?
Right.
So, yeah. But I agree that the mentor program was a huge help. I just needed that little bit of extra, so.
Yeah, thank you both for commenting on it. And I will say that neither of you bugged me. I love getting, interacting with my municipalities. I love visiting. If you want to have me there, if it's not convenient, we can do it over the phone or virtually. But the reason for the mentor program is that I don't work in a municipal office. I work in a county office. So sometimes there's things that you're doing that you know how to do much more than, much better than I can explain. So I'm always looking for folks to become mentors because we have a lot more new people than we do experienced people. It's the way it is right now. So if you're interested in helping others, I've heard from the mentors, it's not a huge commitment. It's usually just a quick question, point me in the right direction. Do you have a form for this? Whatever it may be. As if you're interested in doing that, I'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in being mentored, I'd also love to hear from you. We'll help you. Okay. All right. And one more resource, I think from outside of the authority is the Professional Recyclers of Pennsylvania. I think I've mentioned that a few times. And this is a group that is near and dear to my heart as a county recycling professional. I have learned so much from my colleagues there. And I've become involved a little bit, more so with prop and committees and things that I'm encouraging prop and I think we are making an effort to make resources more available to municipalities as well, to municipal coordinators. So we have certification program if you're interested in becoming a certified recycler in Pennsylvania, but we also just have really helpful webinars and we've had group sort of mentoring what do I call it? Webinars about 904 grants and the annual report. So if you see those things being shared by me, or if you're on Prop's mail, I would jump on Prop's mailing list if you're able to. If you see a resource coming down the pike, try them out. I mean, I think it's a great group of people, and we have the best conference. Have you been to the conference? Joel, yeah. I think the conference is a blast. This year it's going to be in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, in the summer at a really nice hotel/casino. So good times. Anything else? I think that might be. Questions, anything we didn't cover today? Anything that you have questions about that we can help with? Yeah.
Since we have two of the three major haulers in the county here today, I just wondered, some of us lived through 2 years ago with all the nightmares of missed pickups and post-COVID and everything like that. If you could just briefly give us maybe a health of your work crews, your equipment, and if you've had any major issues in the last 6 months.
I mean, staffing is much better than it was then. There's always turnover, but we're in a better place. Regarding our fleet, we're dealing with a lot of delays on parts, so getting repairs done. It's slowing. It's affecting the fleet, but. And the replacement of new trucks is also backed up as well, or replacement of old trucks with new trucks is backed up as well. But for the most part, I would say we're running fairly well. Yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah, just to reiterate it, our workforce is definitely stabilized. Still, when we have open recs for positions, it's hard to get qualified candidates. Number one, because it's mandatory drug testing for us. The state of Pennsylvania. So, if we get somebody that meets all the qualifications, we're always wondering, are they gonna get past the final hurdle? And the parts issue is huge for us, What used to take a couple of days to get is now taking weeks and months. But I'm sure you guys are seeing the same thing with your maintenance departments. So, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah? Okay. Well, thank you all for supporting recycling in Pennsylvania, everybody in this room. Thank you to Carrie for coming all the way from the DEP and for Brian and Joel as well. And thank you all for your conversation. Thank you, everybody virtually for attending. And we will make the recording available, if not today, soon. So, and I believe we have lunch ready in our library, which is right outside here. I'm just gonna check. So, I'll be right with you. Oh.